All right. Good evening, members of council, administration, and certainly those that are streaming from the comfort of your home. Welcome to our regular council meeting of August the 11th. Roll call. All members of council are present, and the only order of business is actually report out of closed meetings. We did not have a closed meeting session this evening. And so I'll go directly to the members. Disclosure of pecuniary interests on the agenda is presented to you. Councillor Dowie go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just on the item involving the Source Protection Committee, one of the nominees is a friend and co-worker, so I wish to abstain from that particular vote.
Okay, thank you, and that'll be duly noted in our minutes. Members of council, we have the minutes of the July 28th meeting. That meeting of regular council, as were duplicated and delivered to the committee members, be accepted as presented. Councillor Tonio, Councillor Jobin, on those minutes, any errors or omissions? Having heard none, the minutes are carried. All in favor, I should say. Opposed, if any, that's carried. There is no supplementary items to deal with this evening, members of council, and we don't have any delegations either. But we do have a lot of communications. We've got items, Jay, we've got 11 items to, more than that, minutes, communications, yeah, up to K. If I could have a motion on communications. Councillor Dowie, Councillor Altenhoff, all in favor? Opposed, if any. Is there any communications that you'd like to bring forward at this stage? Councillor Dowie, please.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to highlight the first communications, and I guess I'd like to express some disappointment. I mean, as many of us know, Union Gas and Enbridge merged, and so one would think that the economies of scale would result from a larger company, but it looks like the opposite has had an impact. $8 additional charge per household. So I'm sort of confused with that. I know the deadline to become an intervener has passed, but this is something I would like to monitor just because it just seems backwards given their corporate consolidation.
No, that's a very good point, Councillor Dowie. Yeah, a little late for interveners strategy, but there's nothing wrong with sending a letter to the OEB. All right, and any further comments? Then all in favor? Opposed, that is carried. We do have communications action required, and I know on the first item, the Essex Region Conservation Authority piece, Councillor Andrew Dowie has declared a conflict and will refrain from voting. And that the Tecumseh Council endorsed the following individual's appointment to the Essex Region Source Protection Committee. Albert Dion, Town of Lakeshore, appointment date September 10th, 2020, and they will expire September 10th, 2025. Ian Wilson, City of Windsor, appointment date September 10th, 2020, to expire September 10th, 2021. And Nelson Santos, Union Water Supply System, appointment date September 10th, 2020, to expire on November 30th, 2022. And that the clerk be directed to send a copy of the resolution of council, the Essex Region Conservation Authority, to advise of council's decision on endorsement prior to August 31st, 2020. On the motion, do I have a mover and support? Deputy Mayor Bichetti and Councillor Jobin. Any comments or questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. We'll move on to committee minutes. We have the Tecumseh Business Improvement Area minutes of July 8th, and could I have a motion that the meetings be adopted as presented? Councillor Tonio, Councillor Houston. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Members of council, we are now going to move to reports, and our very first report is prepared by our Chief Administrative Officer, and it's the Boundary Adjustment Agreement in the County Road 43 Class Environmental Assessment Study. Councillor Houston, move, and supported by Councillor Altenhoff. Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. I have to concede being pretty upset in reading this report. I want to thank the administration for bringing it to our attention. The length that this project has been going on for, and the missed timelines, I'm at a loss to really understand the thinking of Essex County in this regard as to why they are not planning to meet the terms of the agreement that they have signed with the town of Tecumseh. This is a pretty important project for us, and you know, beyond that, I'm definitely concerned with their interpretation of the Class EA, that you know, designs can be changed rather than piecemealed, which I understand to be permissible, but to outright change the cross section is not consistent with what I would wish to bring forward in any respect. So anyway, I wish to offer my full support for the administration and their efforts here. I certainly would welcome any further comments that the administration would wish to provide, as well as you know, communicate any efforts that they wish for town council to undertake from our side.
Thank you, Councillor Dowie, for those comments. To our CAO, Ms. Evans, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just for the benefit of those who might be watching, this report has to do with a boundary adjustment agreement that was entered into by the town of Tecumseh, the city of Windsor, and the county of Essex in 2002, and was in exchange for Tecumseh providing approximately 6,500 acres of land, annexed lands, into the city of Windsor. And it was originally triggered at that time due to discussions around municipal restructuring. So the town essentially gave up the 6,500 acres, which represented approximately $90 million in assessment in $2,000, the year $2,000, to facilitate the boundary adjustment. And in return, the town did receive a payment in lieu of taxes from the city of Windsor, pardon me, as did the county. There were some changes in jurisdiction of roadways, where Banwell Road, portion of it was transferred into the city of Windsor, and a portion of it, a large portion of it, that remained in Tecumseh was transferred to the county of Essex, as well as the jurisdiction for the 11th concession. The city was to make some improvements at its cost to the transferred segment of Banwell Road, and the timing of these improvements was not specified in the agreement, but they have since undertaken an environmental study report completed in 2016, and their first phase of construction is anticipated this fall. For the benefit of Tecumseh, and really the main and substantial benefit of Tecumseh coming out of the boundary adjustment, was the realignment of Banwell Road with the 11th concession road to form a single continuous north-south roadway with the county, and that was to be completed following a class environmental assessment. and then completed within 5 years of that EA being done. So the EA was done in 2009, and so in accordance with the boundary adjustment agreement, the design and construction was to be completed no later than 2014. So we are here now on over 10 years beyond the completion of the environmental study report on County Road 43 without final design or certainly without construction. The discussions that administration has had to date with the county administration on this matter have essentially generated 3 unresolved issues that we bring before council this evening. That the design so far discussed with county administration does not conform to the recommended solution approved for the County Road 43 environmental study report, and that to which Councillor Dowie just spoke. Also, the limits of the proposed design detail only accounts for about 2/3 of the roadway study length area and omits a portion of County Road 43 between Shields and the CPR tracks. And then the proposed timing, of course, does not comply with the terms set forth in the agreement, and there's been no commitment to date from the county on the timing for construction. So notwithstanding efforts made over the last approximately 1.5 years on matters in and around this study area of the County Road 43 diversion project in association with the county's work on County Road 42. We have tried to move the bar on this particular project emanating from the boundary adjustment agreement and find ourselves at a standstill. So we're asking for, this evening, we're asking for council's support to perhaps bring this matter to the attention of county council and ask that the county give consideration to passing a motion that would honor their obligations set out in the original 2003 boundary adjustment agreement that would see the completion of a detailed design that is consistent with the recommended solution identified in the 2009 environmental study report, and then prioritize that detailed design work in 2020 and 2021 with construction to commence no later than 2023. We feel that this has gone on for quite some time without resolution, 17, 18 years to be exact, and that it is certainly time to move on with this. The county roads 42 and 43 in that vicinity frame the Tecumseh Hamlet settlement area, one of the last remaining undeveloped settlement areas within the town of Tecumseh, and the lack of movement on this project has hampered the town's ability to get that section of land ready for development. And so we are seeking council's assistance and moving this forward so that we can proceed with development in that area. Thank you very much for allowing me to outline that report for council's benefit.
Thank you very much, Ms. Evans. I want to just add, I know I'm not going to get into the minutiae of the whole, but as one of the negotiators of the land transfer deal, I can tell you that this was a document that was ratified by County Council in 2003. And so we're not asking for anything above and beyond what was asked for in the agreement. Is basically just honor the agreement as signed by a tripartite agreement between the county, the town, and the city of Windsor. And so this is, in my opinion, gone on a long time, way longer than it should be. And what we're asking is just to finally honor the agreement, and in particular on the comments that you made, Councillor Dowie, were very, very accurate to the point where the public information centers that were done with a lot of the residents from that area of town, especially on County Road 42, there's an expectation of what type of infrastructure is to be built there. And so any type of altering of that is counter to the agreement. And so I'm hoping, obviously, that the council, this should be unanimous in my opinion, and then give the administration the ability to take it up to the county for another opportunity. Deputy Mayor Bichetti and Councillor Jobin and Councillor Houston.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to thank our administration for preparing this report tonight. As you can see, this is a history lesson, and so, you know, if you look at the dates, this goes over maybe 3 to 4 wardens for the County of Essex. It goes through a lot of municipal lower tier councillors that may not be privy to this information, to this agreement. There are still a few around that were there in the day, and I think, you know, having this report at the County of Essex formal agenda will really help have them understand the history so that we can move forward. We owe it to the what do you call the EA? We owe it to the EA that was done, that we honor that for the public consultation that took place, and to start making alterations to that is not right, and it's basically a waste of tax dollars if we go through that exercise and then not make that come to fruition. So the fact that we do have an agreement here, it's not precedent setting. There's an agreement here. It goes back to the boundary adjustment, and I think County of Essex will appreciate, as will the administration, because there's some administration that was not there that will be able to sift through this information that we have before us and help move this forward.
Councillor Jobin.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe even to you or our CAO. So I do share the comments that have already been discussed, but just in addition to that, when you speaking to the design, it's not only to the realignment of the roundabout, but over the years, and it's not in this report, but County Road 43, as known as the 11th concession, is a CWATS designated road. Does the designation or the roadworks include, back when there was discussions of wider shoulders because it's a CWATS? So currently, as it is designed, being a CWATS, there isn't really room for, in my opinion, that shared use. So when you're talking about the designation and the works of it, does that include the widening of shoulders that is of concern as well?
If I may, Mayor, defer this question to Mr. Hillman, please.
Thank you, Councillor Jobin, for that question. So just to clarify the element that the Deputy Mayor was saying, the history of this is quite unique. So this agreement was actually signed prior to CWATS even being on the table. And in fact, this Banwell corridor was a trigger to the genesis, really, of the CWATS program. So, but cutting to the answer is yes. The cross-section that is in the EA document that the town was advocating through council resolution at the time of the EA being completed by the county includes the provisions that were ultimately transferred into the CWATS document. So there is a multi-use trail separated from the curb by a tree line on the east side of the improved Banwell Road. So it really, that drove the CWATS design solution for this corridor because the EA was already completed.
Okay, thank you.
I believe Councillor Houston.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll echo, all of the comments that were made. Thank you to our administration, for putting the report together. It's frustrating and disappointing, to hear and have this information in front of us, that it's dragged on so long. And I represented that area, and I think we all get calls and sort of avoid Banwell Road when early in the morning and when school comes out, because we know how busy of a road that is. And I know the residents there, living on Banwell, they deserve to have the EA honored and the agreement, and we have a clear agreement. So looking forward to having county councils support and seeing this move forward. But absolutely, you do have my support to do whatever we can to, have a clear agreement, honored on the way it was written. So, thank you.
All right, any further questions or comments from the council? I think it's pretty black and white. So what I'm looking for now is a mover and a seconder on the report. Move Councillor Dowie and Councillor Altenhoff. On the report, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That report's carried unanimous. And I certainly want to just say one last thing to administration as well, is in particular those who have been on this file for such a long time. Thank you for your patience and your tenacity, and hopefully it'll soon be behind us, and the agreement will be honored as written. All right, we'll move on to corporate services. Members of council, we have corporate services 2020-15, the Golden Age Parquet. There is a report there, and I certainly hope that council supports administration's request. Councillor Houston moves. Support. Councillor Tonio. Comments and or questions to administration? Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. Just a brief question to the administration as to whether the resident communicated their intent for the land. Would it be for a yard, or is it to build upon? So just, I did see it's a kind of an awkward dimension of sorts, and so I'd love to know what the crux of their proposal was.
Administration. Yeah, I think it's, I haven't got control of it, but it looks like just an extension of the backyard.
Yeah.
And basically landlocking, or, well, eliminating the parquet, and in particular with a growing community of seniors, those lands I think are extremely important for potential expansion in the future, or certainly taking advantage of the outdoor picnic area for seniors to avail themselves of it.
Through the mayor to council, indeed, I think that that pretty well sums it up. That yes, while the individual wanted to extend their yard, I think that that would significantly limit the use of the property for the Golden Age Club, and even the immediate considerations of perhaps having to hold more functions outside due to physical distancing. We wanted to, I think, hold on to that property for the future.
Okay. So we got a mover and a seconder. No further questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. All right, next is the report, face covering, and I believe for visitors and contractors, and it's basically that we're looking for a entitled face covering policy for visitors and contractors be received, and that a bylaw of 2020-55 being a bylaw to approve face covering policy for visitors and contractors be adopted. Councillor Altenhoff moves, supported by Deputy Mayor Joe Piketty. Any questions or comments on that report? All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Move on to financial services, our business plan and budget timetable. The report is that a proposed 2021 business plan budget timetable as follows be approved. Consultations with council, September 22nd, 2020. Public engagement on September 24th to October 16th, 2020. And table proposed business plan and budget on December the 8th, 2020. And our council deliberations to be determined sometime in January 2021, with council consideration and adoption on January 26, 2021. Any questions or comments on that report? Moved by Councillor Alnoffer and Councillor Jobin, support. No further questions or comments. Go ahead, Councillor Alnoffer.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to administration. I know in the past we've seen generally our deliberations and adoption occurring a bit earlier, about a month earlier. Just curious as to why. I recognize things are a little bit different. I think we all acknowledge that. But certainly there are some advantages of getting a budget done a bit earlier. Just if there's any comments on that, it'd be appreciated to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kitsos.
Yep. Thank you through the mayor to Councillor Altenhoff. That is precisely the reason. Really, there's a lot going on this year with COVID and flood, and the fact that those two things have not only impacted our budget and our revenues and expenditures, they've also put us behind in a lot of other work. So although we're working hard to get our variance reporting, like Q2 variance on time and our August variance on time, we're allowing ourselves a couple extra weeks to focus on the budget because it will be largely impacted by the events that have occurred this year.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Not carries. Thank you. Move on to the budget variance report, and that's the first 6 months of this year. And so I'm looking, obviously, if maybe we can put that up, maybe on this one here, I'll let our treasurer bring this variance report forward, and then I'll call for a resolution.
Okay, thank you, and through the mayor. So this is our Q2 variance that we generally bring forward to council right around this time. So this year, of course, is a little unusual, as I mentioned earlier. So we're projecting a deficit to operating of just under $200,000. So there's through the report, there's a fair bit of detail on items that are line items that within departments that impact the budget, but largely, we had projected. We're projecting a lost revenue of close to $1.2 million right now. So that's the biggest impact to the budget. Throughout the document, you'll see that there are cost containment measures that have been implemented. And those were implemented quickly in response to the COVID pandemic. The biggest cost containment that you'll see throughout the report and through various departments is really through wages and benefits. So with lost revenue expected to be close to 1.2 million, the biggest offset to that has been through cost cutting it through wages and benefits of close to $750,000. So that's what we're projecting at this stage. So it still is early. And I would suggest that a $200,000 deficit at this stage is quite good under the circumstances. Now, throughout the document, you'll see there are some significant items. As we the large items in revenue, for arena obviously largely impacted, $350,000. Part of our relief program is through penalty and interest waiving, and that's expected to be below budget by over $270,000. That's another, charge against revenues. Supplementary taxation is expected to come below revenue, budgeted revenue. So those are some of the bigger items. And we did have, throughout there are a couple of positives in revenue. So you'll see in building permit revenues expected to actually exceed budget, and that's by roughly $40,000. And a large portion of the projected deficit we're able to mitigate through 2019 year-end assessment growth. So our actual 2019 assessment growth came in greater than estimated. So that increases our projected tax revenue by $260,000, which really helps offset a lot of the revenue loss throughout the other departments. So I know I've skipped around there. Sorry, Sean. But it's a fairly detailed document, a lot of line items, but ultimately we're looking at projected lost revenue of close to 1.2 million. The biggest offset to that is through wages and benefits of close to $750,000.
Okay, questions or comments from the only comment I'd like to make is I want to thank administration. At the end of the day, when you look at the lost revenue, especially in the operation, and then you look at the end of the day, looking at 144,000, that's tremendous in that regard. So, as the gatekeepers of the Treasury, Mr. Kitsos, I want to certainly commend yourself and Zora and your team, and certainly our administrator and all the department heads. When I hear from my peers, across the province, and that we're doing quite well. We're not just treading water. We're actually, we're doing quite well under the situation. So I just want to compliment the efforts of administration for tightening up the belts and realizing that through all of the efficiencies that we were able to find, and certainly you deserve our thanks, and the citizens deserve your thanks, their thanks to you for keeping a close eye of the Treasury. Councillor Dowie?
Thank you, Worship. Just want to echo your comments. I mean, this is certainly an undesirable situation, but this is, I think, the best possible outcome of an undesirable situation. I definitely have to commend the administration for all their work in identifying opportunities to economize and to really lessen the blow to the municipality all these past months, and doing so under very difficult circumstances. It's certainly a tremendous amount of work that they've done, and I certainly don't want to leave any impression that we do not appreciate it. We certainly do. We're in a great position thanks to the hard work of our administration.
Yeah, I think leaving, post COVID, and that I think we're going to be in, ready to get back in the saddle and move our community forward. So tremendous effort by everyone. It's a whole team effort. We always say Team Tecumseh. There's a reason for that, and so thank you for that. And if there's no further questions or comments, Councillor Altenhoff.
Thank you, Worship. And through you, I don't want to add to what's already been said, but certainly the appreciation is there. And I want to articulate this, especially to the viewers. I mean, the report details, a lot of line items. And again, we have to recognize we're facing two very concerning points, in our humanity's history. Well, one, certainly the COVID. The other is that we're under a flood concern, very, very, flood emergency. So, I hope our residents can see, although we're concerned with some deficits, we've got good details on what was hit as a result of the things we're facing. And then I give, again, administration, like's already been said, a lot of credit to that, and then really starting to look at it and trying to be as proactive as possible with the thoughts that, as you say, Mr. Mayor, as we move forward and get out of this, we'll be in a far better place than perhaps some other municipalities. So again, thank you very much to administration.
Yeah, and just to add, we're adding new commercial entities. We had 5 new businesses that opened up during the pandemic. I mean, a lot of them in the service industry, which is probably the hardest hit. And we just had the public meeting, and we're ready to put a shovel in the ground with another 99 unit condominium. So, things are as they're not bleak. They're certainly we're in cautious times. And but we'll get out of this, and with the efforts that everybody's putting in, I'm extremely confident and proud of everybody's effort. All right, so a motion. Thank you for the report, Mr. Kitsos, and so I mover and supporter on the report. Councilor Houston and Councilor Tonio, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Move on to planning and building services. We have the report, which is our 6-month review of the Tecumseh Transit Service, and that report is 2020-26, and that's from the Planning and Building Services and our status. And I don't know if Mr. Jeffrey is here or. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just very briefly, just like to highlight a few things. Ridership and revenues are obviously down as a result of the COVID-19 emergency. And that was exacerbated by the fact that Transit Windsor shut down during the month of April. A bit of good news in this report is that in the months of January and February, before the COVID-19 emergency hit, we were slightly above the levels for those months in 2019. We are now starting to see ridership levels slowly increase to the point that we're now getting most recently between 35 and 40 riders a day. And we expect to see that continue as the area opens up to stage 3. But we still believe that ridership levels will be well below the usual levels for this time of year for some time in the foreseeable future. The other thing I wanted to note is that the contract with First Student Canada is up at the end of this year. We will be looking at different ways of providing the service and evaluating those ways and reporting back to council regarding that sometime in the fall.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. Do we have any questions to Mr. Jeffries at this stage? If not, then a motion to receive the report is presented. Councilor Houston, Councilor Altenhoff, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. All right, our next report's also from our Planning and Building Services. It's our 6-month permit report. And moved by Councilor Houston and support Councilor Tonio. Before I call the question, is there anything, Mr. Vogel, you'd like to bring forward in your report?
Yeah, due to the COVID-19 and a late start in construction this year, our numbers are slightly down from the same period last year. But I can tell you right now, the last couple months have been busy for us, and we have lots of permits that we'll be issuing here in the third quarter. So we're projecting that our revenue should be slightly above budget. So.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions to our CBO? If not, then a motion to receive the report is presented. Deputy Mayor Becchetti and Councillor Dowie. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to bylaws, and I'll call upon our clerk, Mrs. Moy.
Thank you, Your Worship. We just have the one bylaw on the agenda this evening, and it is the bylaw to adopt the face covering policy for visitors and contractors as reported on earlier this evening. We're respectfully asking for first and second readings to this bylaw, and if appropriate, third and final.
Okay, thank you. Two readings. Councillor Tonio, Councillor Altenhoff. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And three readings is now in order. Councillor Houston and Councillor Jobin. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Members of council and administration as well. Is there any unfinished business items that you want to discuss this evening? Okay, I don't see any new business that you want to bring up. Okay, no new business. Then a confirmatory bylaw is in order on the to confirm the proceedings of our meeting tonight. Councillor Tonio, Councillor Houston. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Any notices of motion this evening? I hear none. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September the 8th at 7 p.m., our regular council meeting. And if there's no further questions, comments at this stage, then adjournment is proper. Councillor Altenhoff, Councillor Tonio. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, I want to take this opportunity to thank council and for the meeting today, and certainly administration, all your hard work between our last meeting till now, and also want to take this opportunity to thank all of those who are streaming our meeting from home. So to everyone, I bid you a good evening and stay safe, and until we meet again on our meeting September the 8th. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.